If you recently purchased a home, you're wondering, do I really need home insurance? And there are scenarios where you may not need home insurance. So let's dive in and answer this question a little bit more specifically in the video. We're going to explain some of the coverages that are and aren't covered and some of the pieces you have to pay for depending on the type of loan that you get for your home. So first off, let's talk about the obvious. Everyone's clicking on this video like, why is he talking about, do you need home insurance? Of course, Mark, you do. You probably should. Not always, because if you own your home outright, it's not required, although it is a little crazy if you don't have the funds to replace your house, just like you would your car or your keys or your wallet or anything that you own that you physically have that you don't care about, then sure, you don't need the home insurance for that. But home insurance is generally designed to protect you in case the home burns down, in case someone breaks in and steals your items, in case flood if you get flood insurance, in case hurricanes, if there's anything major, if the roof rips off. Things like that are typically what your home insurance is for. Now, when you're purchasing a home, there are a couple different requirements that you have to have. So depending on how you pay for the house, let's say I go get a loan and I only put 20% down. If I don't put more than 20% down, I'm required to carry something called primary mortgage insurance on top of my home insurance. If I do the opposite, then I don't have to pay it. If I put more than 20% or 20% or more down, then the mortgage company doesn't have to require me to have that. We'll dive a little bit more into that in just a moment. The question is, why does a mortgage company require me to have home insurance? They have a vested interest. So if a home has any type of an issue where it's the house breaks down, the roof rips, like we just mentioned, right? So if that happens and you can't pay the loan back, you really physically can't pay anything. You're done. You're bankrupt, and now the mortgage company loses. That's the reason they're forcing most people to have home insurance, is because they want you to be covered so they're covered. They essentially are having you pay to protect yourself, which protects their investment. They're invested. That's why when you get a home, there's something called an escrow. They try to bundle that all the time, every time, if they can. Because an escrow is essentially an account that allows you to tie all of the payments and the insurance into one bill. They know that if they tie that all in, you won't miss a home payment, but you might miss your insurance payment. Kind of like your auto. Sometimes we change our credit cards and we forget and we don't think about it. It's secondary. If you did that with your home, now your home's not insured. If that happens to have a claim while it's not insured, the whole thing's over. You now owe the mortgage, you don't have a house, there's just a ton of issues that you can run into, and now we're getting lawyers involved. So in that case, they require or they want you to have the escrow built into the mortgage so that everything's just paid in one. They pay the home insurance for you, you pay them on a monthly payment, and it's easy and simple. Going back to that mortgage insurance that's required, if you don't put 20% down, then you are in a risk of them not making the payments. So for the mortgage company to protect themselves, they're going to require you to have PMI, that's personal or private mortgage insurance, and essentially forces you to pay for their insurance, which is crazy, but it's part of the deal. You don't take the loan if you don't want it. If you can't put 20% down, then you're the risk that they have to take. If you put 20% down, you're no longer that risk. So you get to choose whether that's a fit for you or not. But in that case, be careful, because not all loans let you remove it. Most loans will let you, after you've paid 20% down, call them up and say, hey, I paid 20% down, or the value of my house has gone up. So you have less of a mortgage than you do the value of the house. Now you can take it off with some companies. I unfortunately have been one of the less smarter people in the world, and I started with my mortgage, and I can't remove it ever because of the type of loan that I got that required me to have it because I didn't put 20% down up front when I purchased our home. And because of that, I can't remove it at any point. Other mortgages will let you, so it depends on the mortgage. Talk to your loan advisor. If you don't have one, let me know in the comments below. I'll try to help you out if I know some in your local area. So that's optional. You have those pieces. Now, what does the home insurance actually cover? There's really a lot of pieces. I'm not going to go super in depth, but you've got coverages A, B, C, D, E, and F. Essentially, you have the coverage A, which is your dwelling, the physical, actual home itself. You've got all the other coverages for your personal belongings. There's specialty coverage that you need to know, and I'll link a video that goes into depth in that shortly. There's also, you have the liability, which is the big major piece that technically isn't your home directly, but it's you in your home or outside of your home, the liability that you carry if somebody were to sue you for any reason. You've got coverage for separate buildings. So if you have a garage or a shed that's not attached to the house, if you have a pool, or if you have a gazebo or things that aren't part of the home, a fence, All of those things are separately covered on a different coverage called B, which is other structures. The main things that you should make sure that you're covered for is wind and hail. That's a major piece, and that's one of the pieces you have to be a little bit careful with because not all agents are trained enough to give you the right coverage there. So be careful that they don't give you a percentage deductible to where you're paying a ton out of pocket if the roof got damaged. That's your typical wind and hail claim. It goes for siding as well. You also have fire. So if you have a fire in the home, that's where all of these pieces start to play a factor to where you want to have that full replacement cost on your personal belongings. If you lose half or everything that you own in the house, you want to make sure that you're not getting a garage sale value for your items. You want the full value of what you would have to pay today to purchase them new. Now, can you go buy them at a garage sale? Sure, but at least you get the money back from the new cost of that item. It's not that common, but theft can be a thing. So if you're in an area that may be a theft zone or can have theft issues, then yeah, you want to make sure that you're covered there. Those typically aren't major claims unless they start your house on fire as they steal everything. Those different stories, right? That's more of a vandalism. The small things people don't think about is if your house gets struck by lightning, if there is something that falls on your home, typically a tree. That's why insurance get picky when they see trees that overhang the home, because lightning can strike or something can happen or the tree can get old and just break apart, wind can knock it over, things like that happen. It's fairly rare, but it's big major claims for these insurance companies. The main thing is you really should get advice if you're not familiar with the type of home insurance that you have. I'll put a link in the description below if you don't have a specific agent that you like, know, and trust. I work with a ton of different agents in different states across the US. My agency itself also has different states as well. So I'll put that link in the description below if you are looking for home and or auto insurance, as well as many other options. Feel free to check that out. To answer the question, do you need home insurance? 90% of the time, yes. If you are wealthy and you don't believe in insurance and you can afford to replace the house or rebuild the home and it's not really a cost thing for you, then sure, you may not want to have that, but you want to make sure that you have at least the liability portion so that you can protect the wealth that you've gained. That's where the home insurance also comes into play to protect you really well. For those of you that aren't familiar with the actual details of the home policy, I actually have a very in-depth video that goes over the A, B, C, D, E, and F coverages, as well as the additional endorsements that you can add to that home policy. So if you're new to home insurance, go ahead and click on my Home Insurance 101. It's going to go very in depth with that. Otherwise, if you're just looking for some discounts and want some ideas of how to save some extra money, I'll go ahead and put a video here that they'll recommend that you check out as well. I'm Mark with Think Insurance. I'll see you in the next one.